Today is April 26, 2026. This is The Creative Drift, a show where I talk about my experiences as a photographer and as a creative. And today I'd like to talk about this, which led me into a project that is probably one of my favorite projects of all time. And I thought it was kind of interesting how this is not an assignment. This is something that it's a personal project that came upon me without my choice much, and it just took a hold of me, and I knew I had to do it. And it was one of my favorite experiences as a photographer, and it's kind of exactly why I got into this. It made me travel. It got me in front of people, and it's just I love this project so much, so I wanted to share how this all went down. This is a novel that features the protagonist is a war hero in Second World War in Europe, in northern Italy, and he helps Jews and other people escape into Switzerland under nationalist rule over there. And it's written by Mark Sullivan, and it's a novel. It's dramatized. I'm not 100% sure how much of the story is fully there, but the person, Pino Lella, who is the protagonist, was somebody that at the point that I read this was alive and in Italy. And I had a connection. This book came to me via our exchange student's father, who we met in the summer of 2018. We're driving through Lugano, and our exchange student was about to come over and come to the States and be with us. And we were on our way back from Corsica to Austria, and so we decided to stop over and say hi, meet the family. And the father told me about working together with the daughter of this war hero that a book had just been written about. And I had no reference. I just kind of took it in. I was like, okay. When our exchange student showed up here, he brought me a copy of this book, actually signed by Pino Lella in Lessa in northern Italy. And so I put it on my desk. And it sat there for a little bit, and then I went on a job to Telluride in Colorado. And I brought this book, and I started reading it on the plane. And I read it while I was in Telluride. And this largely plays in the northern Italian Alps, the Dolomites, and in the lake region. And so Telluride was sort of a great backdrop for reading these mountain stories. But it took me so hard. It was such a impactful story that I got completely consumed by it. There was a lot of like odd crossover I had with the protagonist, and he was friends with Dave McCoy, who was the founder of Mammoth Mountain Ski Area. And I had just photographed Dave McCoy for Ski Magazine, so I knew him, and that's actually, I think, what got me into this in the long run. But there was also the Ascari connection with Formula One, which I've been following since the 80s, and northern Italy, where I'd spent a lot of time as a kid, and James Dean. He knew James Dean. So there was all these weird access points, and then not to mention that I knew the guy who worked with his daughter. And so I was flying back to California, and I was at the Denver airport, and I closed it up, and I almost could not believe what I had just read. I was so consumed by this story. And so I picked up my phone and I texted the dad of our exchange student and said, hey, I'll be in Europe in 10 days. I have to go to a job in Romania, and I'll be in Austria afterwards. I'll be close. Can you get me in front of Pino Lella? And so a week goes by, and we're trying to set this up, and I'm not sure. Another couple of days go by. I start flying to Romania, and I do this whole job there. It's a story for a magazine featuring think large Northern European furniture manufacturer. And we're in the woods. We spend this whole day in the boonies, no restroom. It's beautiful, but little rough. And they make this really nice lunch for us, and we're all sitting around. And I'm asked to sample or test this natural mineral water out of this spring. I drank water out of that spring. I didn't want to, but they were very insistent on me trying it. So I did, and you can imagine what happened over the next couple of days. I had to be close to a restroom at all times. But that aside, I had a great time. I fly to Munich. I rent a little BMW, little 1 Series car, and I drive on the Autobahn down to Austria. It's late summer, sort of the late last couple days of summer, last couple days of beautiful weather. And so I spend a day or two with my parents, and it's really nice. And the entire time I'm still trying to figure out if I can get in front of Pino. I still had no confirmation. There was a media shutdown because they were talking about doing a movie on the novel. So journalists weren't allowed to see him, I guess, or something to that degree. It's Sunday morning. I have Monday to drive down to Italy to meet him. Tuesday, I was going to have one more day in Austria, and then Wednesday, I was going to fly out. So it's Sunday morning. I'm going on a hike with my dad and his cousin, and I end up somehow getting talked into taking a photo with these calves, these baby cows. And so I'm standing with these cows, and one of those cows steps on my foot, and it hurts. And it kind of set me off, and I walked away from these cows. And I pull out my phone, and I call Yvonne, who's Pino's wife, and I say, hey, I have tomorrow. That's my only window. I can come down tomorrow, but if tomorrow doesn't work, then I have to fly back to the States. And she says, okay, come on down. We'll have you. We're looking forward to see you. And so I'm just on cloud 9. I go on this hike. It's beautiful. Amazing Alps in the late summer. I'm very, very stoked. And then the next morning, I get in the car. I drive west into Switzerland, and then south towards San Bernardino Pass. And it's just beautiful out. These huge mountains are lit up by early morning light, and I just have all these memories from doing this as a kid. And I'm having a great time. I go through the tunnel of San Bernardino. I shoot over into Italy, through Bellinzona. I go by Lago Maggiore on the western shore of it. And I get into this town where there's a carabinieri, a Italian policeman, stopping traffic. And I'm like, uh-oh. And so I get to him, and I ask him, hey, I need to go through. Can I go through? And my Munich license plate on that little BMW probably didn't help, but he said, no, you can't go through. I'm like, okay, well, is there a way around? He's like, no, you have to turn around. I'm like, okay. So I turn around, and I try to find my way through this town, and there is no way. The way this road is lined up is that it goes along the shore, snakes along the shore of the lake, and there are areas where you can't, if the road's closed, you can't get around it. And so I'm stuck, and I'm starting to run out of time. I spend about 10-15 minutes trying to figure this out, and there's a huge detour I could do, but that would make me definitely late, and I don't want to be late. So I go back to the area where the carabinieri was, and I just kind of drive through it, and I kind of wind my way through some turns and get through it, and it's all fine. I'm back on the highway. It is all good. I'm on my way. So I'm a little bit stressed at this point, but I realize, okay, all good. I got it. I get to Lesa, the town that Pino lived in at that point, and I kind of scout around his address a little bit to see if I can find somewhere cool to shoot. And then I ring the doorbell and I go in there and I chat with Yvonne, his wife, for a little bit. And we make it back down to the courtyard. And I take a few photographs of her. And then Pino starts jogging up. Here's this 94-year-old guy jogging up. So we say hi, we talk a little bit, and I start photographing. And I photographed this all with this trusty old Hasselblad on film. So I have 36 exposures. I have 3 rolls of film, and I have this wall that I found earlier. That's this really pretty wall scuffed with time, and just classic Italian, beautiful wall. And I first have him sort of face the camera, and the light's a little too hard from the side. So I ask him to turn a little bit, and I can see this is the shot, this is the frame. It's just like this really sweet directional light in front of this beautiful wall. It kind of looks like, you know, some old painting. I know I have it here, so I'm happy. I take a couple frames, and then we take another couple frames with him in the alleyway. But I know I have it at this point. So we talk a little bit, we take a picture together. And then right as I'm about to leave, I ask him, so how was James Dean? I've been fascinated with James Dean, as you know, many people probably have, or have. We know that one. And here was somebody that met him in person, that sort of was, you know, somebody that knew him. And I was like, wow. So I asked him, how was James Dean? And from the side, Yvonne goes, well, you know, he was supposed to be driving him that day. They changed the driver last minute. I'm like, oh my God. So I leave. The whole thing didn't take longer than 25, 30 minutes. I wanted to be respectful of their time. They had carved this out for me, you know, and I also had to still get back. And I was mentally pretty exhausted after the Carabinieri and all this other stuff that I had to go through, and just having done this. And so I get back in the car and I drive along the lake, and I vividly remember this amazing feeling of you know, late afternoon, beautiful light, beautiful northern Italian lake region. I'm driving by these fancy hotels, and it's just spectacular, and I'm so stoked. I got this done, like super random. You know, this all happened within the span of 10 days, and there was like, you know, how unlikely was this to happen? And I read this book, and I happen to be in a position where I geographically can be, you know, in front of this person because I had this job in Romania. So all these things just lined up, and it was just so sweet, and I was so stoked. And I'm cruising down the road, music blasting, and I get, you know, out of Bellinzona, and I drive back up towards San Bernardino. I'm like, I'm not going through the tunnel. I'm going over. I'm taking the windy, the Landstraße, the windy road that goes up the hill. And so I'm giving it. I'm going. It's like a little shifter car. It's like a 1 Series BMW, but I give it. I drive as hard as I can in this thing. It's like squeaking tires around all these hairpins. I get to the top, sun setting. It's beautiful out. There's this little lake up there and this restaurant, and I take a little break, and I just sort of take a breath, take in the scenery, and just try to calm down. And then I go, and on the way down, I'm still so stoked. I start e-braking around all the hairpins, you know, just sliding the car around. And I go 3, 4 hairpins or so. The car goes limit, 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 like blinking, you know, orange in the dash, and the car just sort of shuts down, just stops. So now I'm stuck or sitting up there on the mountain, and car is working. I'm all by myself. Sun's going down. It's getting dark. Nobody around. And I'm like, okay. And so I turn the car off, turn it back on, comes back to life, all good. I drive to Austria, done. Next day, I just hang out a little bit, and then I drive back up to Munich and fly from Munich to San Francisco. In San Francisco, I have to go through customs, so I have to get out of security. And when I go back through security, back into the airport, I have them check the film. I have 3 rolls of film, and I put them in a little tray, and I say, I need a hand check for these. And they take it, I go through, and it's 30 seconds, and the film doesn't show up. And so I'm waiting, and I'm like, eventually I'm asking, hey, where's my film? I just dropped off these 3 rolls of film. They're like, oh, we don't know. And they start looking through some things, and they can't find it, and they look in another place, and they can't find it. And this is starting to drag out a little bit. I'm starting to freak out because, they lose that film, this entire thing goes out the window. No project, basically done. All these hurdles, all this setting up, all these favors that people did for me, all this stuff would have been out the window. So I start throwing a fit. A little bit more of a fit than you probably should throw at TSA. But I did. I was like, you guys cannot have lost this film. It's like, how did you lose? Like, this is 10 feet, 30 seconds. How would you lose that film? It has to be somewhere here. You go find it. And so they do. They find it, and it's all good. I get it developed. Everything's fine. About a week after I come back, we go and have dinner with friends of ours who have Italian heritage, and we spend time with them in Italy together, actually, in northern Italy, in the Dolomites. And I walk in and I say hi, and she goes, hey, how are you? And I say, oh, great, I was just in Italy and Romania and in Austria, and in Italy, I photographed this protagonist of this novel that I had read, and I couldn't get him out of my head, so I went and photographed him. It's like this war hero. And she goes, hold on. I'm like, what? And she leaves the room, and she gets her husband. Her husband comes in, and he goes, was this Pino Lella? And I go, yeah, look, here's a photo of me and him together about a week ago in Leysa at his house. And he about fell over. Because he had done exactly what I had done, which is get super consumed by the story. And I ran into people since then too, multiple times, that had a similar response to the story. Given that there is probably a fair amount of dramatization there, but and I don't know how much factual. Let's just put it this way. It's an amazing novel that took me and created this project that is probably my favorite project I've ever done. It involved, it started in Lugano, then I had this whole experience in Telluride, then I was in Romania, then I was in Austria. All the time I was trying to finagle this situation with multiple people. And in the end, I'm in northern Italy, and I photographed this guy that is very unlikely I would get in front of. And I get these portraits of this person, and I get it all done. It's like, it's one of these things where, you get an idea, and within 2 weeks it's executed, and it all comes out. It's amazing. So that's sort of the type of things that I think this profession, you have to have those every once in a while, because they really make it worthwhile. Those are the projects that you remember, that give you something back, that are just amazing. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Do the clickities, or whatever you want to call that. And we'll see you next week.